Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. It is we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug the mines and built the workshops, endless miles of railroad laid. Now we stand outcast and starving mid the wonders we have made, but the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever.
Well, good morning. And officers, over 1,200 delegates, guests, friends, you know, it is a real honor and a privilege to be here this morning on day 5 of your convention. I know you've been working very, very hard. Everybody is working hard, but it is certainly a privilege to be here. I know we're all coming off of Labor Day. Labor Day is important to all of us, very special day, but in thinking about coming here today, I was thinking about myself, and 38 years ago, I was blessed to be taken into the IBEW as an apprentice. I was in June of 1978. My class, in a classroom one day, here comes the business agent. He talks to us about being part of the IBEW, being part of the labor movement, talks to us about volunteering, and he talks to us about in the IBEW, it's better to volunteer than to be drafted. And he explains to us as apprentices, we'll get lots of opportunities to volunteer, and it's better to volunteer than to be drafted. So I signed up for a Labor Day committee, and my first assignment was Labor Day parking lot management, 38 years ago. And so you had to be there early and stay late, and my wife took me to the Union Hall that morning, yards, tents, you know. She was going to come back later. Contractor truck there. I knew the apprentice that drove the truck. I took liberty of taking some construction cones, traffic cones out, and I reserved a spot for my wife, thinking, you know, she'll come later and she'll have a reserved spot for Labor Day, and then we'll go have lunch under the tent. So here comes all the members of the local, friends and guests, and this is after the parade, and they're pouring in, and my job's to make sure they don't, you know, run into each other in the parking lot. And about this time, here comes the business manager with his family, who rolls down the window and says, "Son, what's your name?" And I say, "Mike." And he says, "Is that my spot?" And, you know, well, I was born at night, but not that last night. I said, "Yes, sir." So let me move a couple of these cones for you, and you can back right in. My wife wasn't proficient at parallel parking, so I made the spot a little extra big. So he pulled right in there, and he said, you know, "Good job, kid. Thank you very much." And off he went into the tent in the shade. So the next year, I was the first second-year apprentice to be in charge of beverages at the Labor Day parade, or the Labor Day picnic, cold beer and soft drinks, and that's how my career got started. So Labor Day is a particularly important day to me. You know, in reviewing your agenda, you've had a full agenda packed with a lot of exceptional speakers, and with emphasis, when I look at it, with emphasis from Illinois, You know, I've seen you've had the president of the Chicago Federation of Labor, Jorge Ramirez, the Illinois House Speaker, Speaker Michael J. Madigan, who's also chairman of the Democratic Party of Illinois, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Congressman Tammy Duckworth, who's running for United States Senate, General President of the UAW, Dennis Williams, who was Region 4 of UAW and also a former member of the Illinois AFL-CIO Executive Board. So I'm sure you've had a pretty good briefing about Illinois and politics in Illinois and our anti-union, egregious billionaire governor, who we are going to, yeah, seems like a few of you know about him, who we plan to outlive and take out in 2018. One thing, thank you. You know, you make a good thing out of a bad thing, and one thing this governor has done, he has opened the eyes of the labor movement in Illinois, and he has brought us together like I have never seen in my 38 years, and we are together from the top of this state to the bottom of this state, and we are taking that energy and we are pouring it into our political 2016 program. So I'm going to just take a leap of faith here, and in knowing that you've probably had a pretty good dose of Illinois politics, I'm just going to stick to the basics here. A long time ago in high school and then in college, seemed like about 100 years ago, but it wasn't quite that long. I played a lot of sports, team sports. Playing team sports, like a lot of you in this room know, your first job is to play your position. Play your position, don't get out of position. You get out of position, bad things happen. So just know the plays, know your position, execute well, and good things will happen. So as a state fed, and it doesn't matter if you're Illinois or any state fed, we're primarily the eyes and ears for the labor movement in Springfield, Illinois, the state capital, for legislative matters. We review bills from affiliates. We review bills from our enemies, people who would like to tear us apart. We review bills in any size, shape, and form. They start in the hundreds and sometimes move up to 1,000. We bring our affiliates together. We do this weekly during legislative sessions. We go through the bills week after week after week, have discussions, making sure we know what each other's doing, making sure we're as coordinated as possible. The last thing we want to do is get over into the State House, into a committee, and have union pitted against union in an open hearing. So we try to do that in the Illinois AFL-CIO and mitigate and try to come to resolution on any differences we can have. But we also try to carve out priority bills that we all can get behind and put the full force of the Illinois AFL-CIO behind them. But in order to go over to the Capitol, in order to be successful with legislation, you have to have labor-friendly legislators sitting in the Illinois Senate and the Illinois House, and then respectively in Congress at the federal level. And in order to do that, you have to be successful in election campaigns. So we're just full court press, full throttle, working as hard as we can for the next 61 days until Tuesday, November 8th. Let me just talk to you a little bit here about the last few days. I know you've been here in Chicago. You've been working extremely hard. I just want to roll back the clock to like Labor Day morning. I live in Decatur, Illinois, about 3 hours dead south, central Illinois, up early, drove about an hour and a half to Peoria, Illinois. Big parade. The whole entire labor movement of Peoria goes down to the waterfront, the riverfront, for a big festivity. But we were there to bring in Congressman Tammy Duckworth, who's already spoke to this delegation, and then Susana Mendoza, who's running for comptroller. We're going to take out one of Bruce Rauner's hand-picked wingman or wingwoman as comptroller in a special election in November here in Illinois. Thank you. Our intent, our strategy was to arrive early in Peoria to get out to the place where the parade, the staging was taking place, so that we could mingle and meet with the different affiliates in the Peoria area. Tammy was there early, Susanna was there early, of course the elected officials in Peoria were there. You know, it's Illinois, it's hot, it's getting a little soupy even at 9 a.m. in the morning. Susanna Mendoza is, she's a political ninja. You just have to just sort of turn her loose, and she's just a tornado. You just have to tell her green is Ask Me, and this is IBEW, and over here is the UAW retirees, and she's on it, shaking hands, kissing babies, taking photos, all over it. You know, hugs, hugs, and hugs. And I understand there's a lot of hugs going on in this convention. Had a little time outside, so I've got one coming, I understand. But then, you know, and I say this with all sincerity, there's Congressman Tammy Duckworth. Again, it's hot, it's humid. She's come a long way, driven through the early morning hours. She's in Peoria, Illinois. She's in a wheelchair. But when she goes and meets with these different affiliates in the streets of a Peoria neighborhood, she doesn't want to be in the wheelchair. I'm going to stand, I'm going to go in, I'm going to talk to them. She poses for photos, she meets with them, she's talking to them. She just is working just as hard as she possibly can. We did the parade, even this 6'4", 250 fat guys walking the parade. You know, we went down to the waterfront for a while, and then you say, okay, well, they're probably done, but that's not true. In separate vehicles, we get into the cars, and we drive 90 miles northwest to the Quad Cities. The Quad Cities is along the river, and the other side of the river is Iowa. So the only thing that separates Illinois and Iowa, you know, is the river. Why are we there? Of course, another big Labor Day event, but Hillary Clinton's coming in. Their program in the park starts about 1:30, 2 o'clock, but Hillary's coming out of Cleveland, Ohio, and she's not going to be there till about 4:30. And all of you know that, you know, when you're waiting on somebody with the rank of like Hillary Clinton, 4:30 means 5:15, 5:30. Well, I was you know, delighted that that crowd was there, and that crowd stayed in the summer heat, in the summer humidity. It took a little beer, it took a little extra food, but they hung right in there. But on that flatbed trailer at 5:30 in the afternoon on Labor Day was Hillary Clinton, number 2 on the Illinois ticket, running for U.S. Senate, Tammy Duckworth, number 3, Susanna Mendoza, the congresswoman from that area, Sherry Bustos, our incumbent U.S. Senator, Dick Durbin, and 3 general presidents, 3 international general presidents from the NEA, Lily Garcia, from the UAW, General President Dennis Williams, and from the IBEW, his hometown, the Quad Cities, Lonnie Stevenson. They weren't, you know, enjoying Labor Day in their backyard with a barbecue. They were working. Hillary came in, knocked the ball out of the park. The crowd was ecstatic. You know, but my eyes just kept going to Tammy and how courageous she is, you know, as a veteran, you know, how hard it is for her to get around and how hard she's working on behalf of organized labor, on behalf of everybody in this room, and how hard we've got to work for her to get her to that U.S. Senate. You know, thank you. Now, when Hillary made her way to that platform, this is just a long flatbed trailer. Of course, she knows the general presidents. She knows U.S. Senator Dick Durbin. You know, I'm just a soldier for the labor movement. She makes her way down. I have a T-shirt on that I received when I was at the not the IBW, but the Buildings and Trades Conference last April in D.C. She doesn't know my name, but she picks up on that T-shirt and she starts talking about the conference, and this is a 20-second conversation, and asked me if I was there, and you know, she starts just talking about the months and the years that have gone into this presidential election, and then she gives her speech, and you know, my mind is going on about, of course, the top of our ticket is all women: Hillary, Tammy, Mendoza, Sherry Bustos. You gotta appreciate that. And then, you know, like most people do, Hillary's giving her speech, but my mind drifts 6 weeks ago in Philadelphia. I was privileged to be a delegate from Illinois, a Hillary delegate, and go to Philly and be part of the DNC and witness Hillary being nominated and accepting the nomination for President of the United States. It only took 240 years for a woman to be nominated President of the United States of America. So it's the year of the woman, but these people have just, you know, just lives that you cannot describe. The sacrifice, they get up early, they drive all over, they fly all over, you know, they set their personal lives aside. It's just amazing how hard they're working. I left the Quad Cities 6:30, 7 o'clock on Labor Day. You know, the phone's ringing all the way home till 10 o'clock at night, but it's from these campaigns. Thanks for taking Mendoza around. Thanks for being there for Duckworth. But, you know, you can't win if you don't have good, qualified candidates, and we've got them, and we need to go on and win in Tuesday, November 8th. So, you know, people, you know, what I'm trying to just say to you is we've all got to play our position. You know, it's team sports. It's going to get crazy out there. In the Illinois House, and I'm just talking the Illinois House, Governor Rauner and his billionaires have spent $22 million to date on House races in Illinois before Labor Day, and we've got 60 days to go. That's like unprecedented. I just cannot comprehend the amount of money that's going to be spent trying to take out, they won't get Michael Madigan, but take out Michael Madigan's Democratic control in the Illinois House, or at least weaken it, and try to weaken control in the Illinois Senate, and then, of course, the money that's spent in congressional races and United States Senate races. People, I mean, this is serious. It's about the President of the United States. It's about Supreme Court justice races. And so I'm just asking you to play your position and do everything that you can possibly do to make sure labor and the middle class and working people win on Tuesday, November 8th. You know, some national material came out around about 6 weeks ago around the DNC, and as you're reading it and digesting it, there's some information that I just thought was outstanding. And it doesn't matter what state you're in, it doesn't matter what your home address is, you get the political mailers. You know, people hardly look at those for 2 seconds, 5 seconds. You get the phone call, most people ignore those. You get the TV commercial, you're looking at your iPhone, or you're going to see what your children are doing because you were young once and you knew what you were doing, so you're going to check on your kids. But part of their data said, what do union members respond to? What gets their attention? And what flew off the chart was they listened to their international president, they listened to their international officers, they listened to the president or business manager that they elected. That's who they trust. They listen to their steward. And so, we cannot match the dollars. We cannot match the millions of dollars. But we just got to be out there talking to our members face to face, talking in our magazines, our newsletters, and being on those phone banks, and an executive board member calling a member in their union and calling them by name and saying, I need you to vote. If Tammy Duckworth, as handicapped as she is, can just fight her way through a kind of a hot, humid Labor Day and go to, work for 12 hours, I think people in this labor movement can get on some phone banks and volunteer and fight for your family and fight for your union and fight for your future. And that's what I'm asking you to do today. Just play your position. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let's hear it again for President Carrigan. Chair calls on the General Secretary Treasurer for announcements.